Welcome to Bill's Aviation Podcast, where your stories are our stories. I'm a general aviation pilot, aviation writer, airplane builder, avionics developer, test pilot, and general screw-up. All stories feature Joe and his merry band of miscreants. The purpose of these stories is to educate and entertain pilots. If you have a story you'd like to share anonymously, please contact me. Today's story is titled, Tossing an Apple Core Out the Window. Joe and Susie Q were enjoying a long cross-country flight in their Piper Arrow. The Piper Arrow is a stable, four-place aircraft with retractable landing gear. As was typical for Joe and Susie Q, they would pack snacks, usually apples, oranges, and the like. A couple of hours into their flight, with an hour left until the first fuel stop, Joe decided it was time for an apple. A nice, big, delicious, juicy apple. The flight was going well, and the airplane was trimmed, the autopilot engaged, leaving them nothing left to do but to change fuel tanks every 30 minutes and check in with the controller from time to time. After finishing his apple, Joe opened the little window on the left side of the Arrow and tossed the apple core out, closing the window behind it. Immediately after disposing of the apple core, Joe felt the airplane slow down. Looking around the panel, everything was in the green, but the airspeed was deteriorating. Another look around and Joe realized the landing gear had deployed. So he immediately slowed to VLE, the maximum speed at which the landing gear can be extended. Now, why did the gear extend itself when it wasn't commanded to do so and to find a suitable place to land? As Joe looked aft over his left shoulder, he discovered why the landing gear had extended. This early Piper Arrow had a second pitot tube sticking out the left side of the fuselage. Its purpose is to extend the landing gear automatically if the airspeed gets below a preset limit, preventing the pilot from mistakenly landing with the gear retracted. When Joe tossed out the apple core, it landed on the very tip of the gear extension pitot tube, blocking the pressure port. The emergency gear extension system saw zero airspeed and automatically lowered the landing gear. What were the odds? Joe and Susie Q landed at a nearby airport, removed the apple core, retrieved a small trash bag from the FBO, and continued on their trip, never to throw another apple core out the window. Lesson learned. Bring trash bags with you for trash disposal. While they were on the ground, Joe had the local maintenance shop inspect the Arrow's landing gear for stress damage. This was desired because of the speed at which the landing gear automatically deployed when the apple impaled itself on the extra pitot tube. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed what you heard, please hit the like button and subscribe by clicking on the logo in the lower right of your screen. If you really like what you heard, please help support the channel and become a Patreon. Part of each donation will go to the aviation safety and aviation youth programs. Be sure to check out next week's story about Joe and Bob doing some acro and finding a broken rudder upon landing.